hard.
But that's a big difference, I think, between Chinese and American education. And I'm basing this on my experience and also the experience of the book I read, Little Soldiers by Lenora Chu, which is really, she's a Chinese American journalist who lived in Shanghai and had her kids go to Chinese kindergarten. And in her research,
you can read the review.
Yeah. In her research, she found
watch the review.
The Chinese students have a very real advantage over American students in the areas of discipline and self-motivation to study. The American kids are better at creative thinking, but the Chinese kids, because they go to these schools where they don't live with their parents, and they have a dorm mother, but it's up to them to do their homework, and they do it.
And their laundry.
Yeah, they are given a lot of responsibility to take care of themselves, and they do, which is impressive.
A surprising amount.
But they're also so sad.
Yeah, I mean they're overworked. But yeah, I look at what they're when I was 15. I got on a bus, went to school, told to go over there, read a comic book quietly behind a desk, and tried to get out of anything I could possibly do, and was easily able to get out of anything. I never had to do anything in school if I didn't want to, and I could still pass. These kids are definitely a lot more into it.
Yeah. I mean, I also was into it.
Right.
I worked pretty hard in school, but I don't know.
You also come from a tiny little school too, so.
I think, and that's the thing is...
You didn't have anything to do either.
This is what I mean.
Tiny towns and are just like Chinese cities.
I was going to say I didn't have friends. I had friends, but not I didn't go out. I didn't go to parties. I didn't get invited to parties and stuff. And I even know that...
Humble brag.
Yeah. I didn't really realize that the other kids were having parties until senior year.
Your parents just told you they all slept in coffins or something?
No.
Everyone go to their pods at 6 o'clock.
I didn't know. But I think, in American school, there are people students like me and students like you. Mm-hmm. But in Chinese school, students like you are more rare.
Yeah, exactly.
There's students like me and stricter.
Right. And I probably would have quit.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
Would have went to work on the farm.
Yeah.
Or become a rap star.
Hopefully. There's still time.
Because we had Mr. Super came from a country farm home with his grandparents, and he was all about working. I mean, any second that he had was tracking us down so we could practice English in his off time.
Yeah.
We definitely had students that were on the other side of they're not in the best classes. They're not.
Right. Well, our school was is one of the best in the city, and they had
humble brag.
Yeah, not because of us, but that we helped. We had rich kids who could afford the full tuition, and then we had a lot of really hardworking, motivated scholarship kids.
Right.
And the scholarship kids worked their brains off.
Right, like Curly's in Singapore from now on, I guess. Possibly the rest of his life.
Yeah, one of our students took a scholarship to go to university in Singapore, and as a condition of that scholarship, he has to work there for 10 years.
I think so. And that was a very there was 10 kids a year that were chosen to go into the program, and then you had
and
to
he was
I
remember him saying because he was from outside of Luzhou, but he's before I came to Luzhou, I had never been to another city.
Yeah.
And then now he lives abroad.
Yeah.
And he works with an international team. So proud.
He's a young man now.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention, another humble brag. So a couple of the parents speak English, but most of them don't. And actually, so the plan was that Carly and I would go together and we'd use her phone to translate. But I actually speak Chinese, so I got put to the test of telling these parents about their kids, and I did pretty well.
Nice.
It got tough. Again, by the end of the week, when I was my cold was getting worse, and I was taking that ephedrine.
The cold did not help.
I think I was maybe saying nonsense sometimes, which happens. And there also was like, because Carly knows me, and we have like a worked out, because I can't speak English in front of the kids. So we have worked out like a bilingual communication. She doesn't speak English either. So she talks to me in Chinese and I speak to her in English. And then when the kids aren't listening, I say a few words in Chinese too. But she knows me, and we have like that connection. But also she also like knows the classroom situation. So there were a couple times where I just, and 这不是这个不一样, blah, blah, blah. Like, that doesn't mean anything if you don't speak Chinese. It just is this, well, and this. And she, like, could pick up what I was referring to. And she's like, oh, I know that classroom situation. So she could, like, take it from there and say what was going on.
So the more... Well, when initially...
But again, so I had, like, a translator translating Chinese to Chinese.
When you found out you were going to go to these homes... Initially, you were just like, this is going to suck. And then after a couple of days, you actually started getting this out of it, that like, not only are you getting strawberry shortcake, but that like you're getting these little like practice things that turned out to be not quite so bad. I mean, it's a pain in the butt to go to class and then have to go back.
Yeah, I mean, because I get done at 8 p.m., which is...
And that's the uncertainty of working as a teacher here. You kind of are spread across the board as needed. Yeah. So these things are surprising when they come up at the last minute, and they're annoying because they're not in your plan. Yeah. But a lot of times they do turn out to be this way of like, boy, I mean, sometimes it just totally flat out sucks that you have to like go stand in a mall as Santa. But,
that I don't enjoy so much.
Yeah.
I get to like practice / show off my Chinese. And then it is also like helpful to make these connections with the parents and like spend time with each individual kid. I would say like there's things about the bilingual teaching versus like being their not supply room teacher, but what is it called? Elective teacher, where I just come into the classroom for 20 to 40 minutes and leave. There's stuff about that's it's harder to like be on the full time that I'm at school, but it is also like I get to know these kids and they have a connection with me, and like the big thing is I get to like teach them that I don't actually like it when they come up and punch me in the butt, so I get to stop that. As opposed to the other kids who are just like, I'm so excited, Teacher Emily.
We talked a lot about the having this, going to a kid's house is kind of weird, and it seems like really antiquated. We were trying to figure out like at home, like when was the last time that was, I don't think I ever had a teacher come to my house. You're in a smaller town, maybe you did.
Not in a teaching capacity.
Yeah, but I can't really even think about
I think they might not even be allowed to it.
Yeah.
Different regulations.
Right. But as much as that seems like, because I was like, it sounds like something like a plot on a sitcom or something that would be some kind of trope, but like I can't even think of anything like that's even, as a silly nonsensical plot point.
Teachers coming to dinner.
Right. Boing. But the idea of it being here is actually kind of like, initially is like, but then you start talking about it, you're like, I get to know my students better.
Yeah. And like to see their parents as people, as opposed to like entities that everybody talks about.
Right. So it's just more...
Because appropriately, the parents are like a big force in what's going on in the child's life.
Right.
But most of the discussion is from the teaching point of view. I'm about to give up a big secret here, but it's like, oh, how annoying are the parents? Which that might be teachers all over the world.
Probably, yeah.
Because I think like teachers have their goals, parents have their goals, and sometimes they're at odds with each other. And ideally, you communicate with each other and you work out what's going to work best.
Yeah. Also, just my thought of like, it sounds weird initially, and then it doesn't actually, when you think about how much time you spend with these kids and what a community kind of feeling that it, the stories that you're coming home with are a lot more interesting than just like, this person's an asshole and I hate that kid. Like, you've got like these stories of like, I thought this about little Griffin, and then I've learned this about Griffin fighting in the house, and the stories that you're getting are richer and deeper.
Yeah, and like Wally's parents showed me he also likes art, and they showed me some of the stuff he's made, and that's really cool. I mean, it's kids' art, so it is. Right. And it's kids' art with obvious adult intervention, but to see him be so proud of his artwork, that's not a moment I have had yet with him in class. So that's
because 20 kids are a lot of kids.
Professionally, that's a good experience, but then also on a personal level, I do feel like I know Wally a little better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't know if that's something that it's an interesting thing, because it sounds like an antiquated idea. I keep thinking Little House on the Prairie. That's the only time that I can think of in American history where the teacher is going to come over for dinner and sit down and say well, your daughter's got to work on this and got to work on that. But mostly she's a good kid.
And it is also from the beginning, you and I have felt like coming over here to teach versus coming over here to work in a business, which, is not an option for us. We didn't, but I don't know, there's Time Out Beijing. We could have translated our skills to something like that.
Yeah.
In the journalism realm, because that's where our experience is. But being teachers and working with kids, even when we didn't speak Chinese so well, and you still don't speak Chinese, it gave us that entree into the community, so it did feel like we really live here and we really are appreciated and part of the neighborhood.
Yeah, I gotta wonder how much of that kind of stuff would happen in the big city. If we were in Shenzhen,
I guess it depends on your school.
Your school, your neighborhood. Because I do feel like there's people that do say that there's not, you just go to class. There's a stereotype of the foreigner teacher that just goes to class, comes home, they don't pay attention, they don't be part of the community or whatever. But I mean, you continuously are fighting to leave me alone.
Yeah.
So the stuff that you have learned, and both even when I was teaching at the middle school, was you get drawn into a lot more than we expected to. We thought we would just go to class for 20 minutes a couple times a day, and that was it.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, we're getting phone calls years later from kids across the world.
Our students are doing so well, and they still keep in touch, and
so sweet.